Shane Van Gisbergen answered all the questions and said, I'm not necessarily going to be granted a win in this race, but he's got the win. SVG wins the Roval.
Shane Van Gisbergen, a name that once ruled the V8 Supercars, is now making waves in NASCAR, and no one saw it coming. Just a few years ago, NASCAR wasn't even on his radar, but now he's capturing the attention of American fans and making history in his debut. How did this unexpected crossover happen? SVG, known for his dominance in the EV8 Supercars, had no plans of joining NASCAR until Justin Marks, co-owner of Trackhouse Racing, reached out with an offer that changed everything. What started as a distant possibility quickly turned into one of the biggest surprises in NASCAR, as Van Gisbergen stormed the Cup Series in 2023 and became an instant fan favorite. SVG admits that before 2022, NASCAR had not really been a focus of his. He said, I followed NASCAR a bit when Aussie Cup driver Marcos Ambrose was racing, but when he stopped, I didn't really pay much attention again until Trackhouse co-owner Justin Marks launched Project 91 in 2022 with the goal of letting the world's best driver have a go in NASCAR. It wasn't until Marks launched his ambitious Project 91 initiative that SVG started to pay attention to the series, realizing it was a potential opportunity to make a name for himself in another discipline of racing. For SVG, NASCAR was something of a curiosity at best, something that wasn't part of his primary focus. Even the interest that Roger Penske had shown in supercars, which could have piqued his attention, hadn't been enough to spark a deep interest in NASCAR. That all changed when Marks and Trackhouse Racing opened the door for international drivers to step into the NASCAR world. Project 91 had already made waves with its debut in 2022, when the program gave Formula One world champion Kimi Räikkönen the opportunity to race in NASCAR SVG. While impressed by the concept, never saw himself as a likely candidate. However, things took a turn when he decided to put feelers out through a connection. Former NASCAR Cup driver Boris Said, who had a relationship with Justin Marks, helped kick off a conversation that would lead to SVG's incredible NASCAR debut. I put out feelers through former NASCAR Cup driver Boris Said, SVG recalled. Boris knew Justin and sort of started the conversation. To my great surprise and joy, Justin reached out and told me, there's a new race happening in 2023 on a street track that I think you'd be perfect for. Give me a few months to find some sponsors and partners. That was an awesome conversation, just because I didn't go into it thinking something would come of it. For SVG, it was the first moment where NASCAR felt like a real possibility, but he was still uncertain. However, as time passed, the conversation with Marks started to take shape. Just a few months later, Marks called back to confirm the news. Yeah, this is going to happen. The opportunity was real, and with the timing working out perfectly, SVG was now poised to take his first steps in NASCAR. At the time, the timing of the Chicago street race fit perfectly within SVG's Supercars calendar, meaning he wouldn't have to miss any of his commitments down under. The fact that the race would take place on a street circuit also made it even more appealing, as it was an environment that he was somewhat familiar with, having raced in other international events. But even with this new opportunity, it was still a big leap. Though SVG had dabbled in American racing before, including appearances in IMSA and the Rolex 24 at Daytona, NASCAR presented a unique challenge. He was stepping into a new kind of racing, with a very different set of rules, cars, and tracks. His first experience in NASCAR was about to be a complete game changer.
Shane Van Gisbergen has been perfect. He has navigated the streets of Chicago to perfection. The final time, onto the front stretch. He comes to the checkered flag. He's won the very first street race in NASCAR.
SVG made history during his debut weekend at the Chicago race in 2023, outdueling seasoned NASCAR veterans to claim an unlikely victory. It was a stunning result considering his limited experience with NASCAR compared to the Cup Series regulars. His victory sent shockwaves through the racing world. For SVG, it was the moment that confirmed that his decision to try NASCAR was one of the best choices he could have made. But how did this all fit into SVG's larger career story? For those who don't know, Van Gisbergen had previously harbored dreams of making it to Formula One. He was well aware of the odds against him, though, and as he admitted, "I was halfway decent at open-wheel racing. But I've always been a pretty big guy, and most open-wheel drivers look like they should be 14 years old." Open-wheel racing, particularly Formula One, is known for its extremely demanding fitness requirements and weight restrictions. SVG's physical build, which worked to his advantage in touring cars, wasn't suited for the lightweight, nimble cars of Formula One. His experiences in the Toyota series made it clear that his weight was more of a hindrance than an asset in open-wheel racing. "I knew the odds were slim," SVG said. "My weight was my enemy. It robbed me of speed." With this realization, he pivoted from open-wheel racing to a more fitting discipline, touring cars. It was in this category that he found success, eventually becoming a dominant force in Australia's Supercars championship. It was here that his talents truly shone, and his legacy in supercars was solidified. Yet just as he was on top of his game in supercars, an entirely new opportunity appeared on the horizon. And it wasn't just about another form of touring car racing, it was NASCAR, a series that few drivers from SVG's world of V8 Supercars had dared to step into. For SVG, his transition into NASCAR has not been easy. It's not just about hopping into a car and going fast, it's about mastering new tracks and adapting to a new style of racing NASCAR ovals, the distinct and unique style of American racing, were unlike anything SVG had ever encountered in his career. But SVG's natural ability to adapt, honed over years in supercars, allowed him to quickly start finding his feet in this new discipline.
Yeah, what an awesome day. Good to get our first top 10 here at Kansas. Thank you to Red Bull for coming on with us. Crazy day, going a lap down with the penalty at the start, and then, just worked our way forward, and I got sort of more confident. It's still taking me time with these mile-and-a-halves.
Now, with his focus on mastering ovals, having already secured 4 pole positions on road courses and finishing top 10 at Kansas in 2025, despite starting from the rear of the field, SVG continued his impressive rookie run. SVG is no stranger to hard work, and his performance on ovals proved that he was not just a street racing specialist, but a versatile driver capable of competing on the most challenging tracks NASCAR has to offer. At this point, SVG's transition into NASCAR has evolved into one of the most captivating stories in recent motorsport history. A Kiwi driver crossing oceans and disciplines, adapting to a completely different kind of racing, and finding success on the other side. His journey from V8 Supercars to NASCAR has captured the imagination of fans across the world, and his continued growth in the series promises more exciting chapters ahead. For the drivers, teams, and fans involved, SVG's story is a reminder that motorsport is always changing, evolving, and offering new opportunities for talent from around the world. What began as an unlikely crossover has turned into one of the most unexpected and thrilling success stories in NASCAR's modern era. And as for SVG, this chapter of his career is only just getting started. With his sights set on mastering ovals and continuing to improve, the future looks incredibly bright. Who knows? Perhaps in the coming years, we'll see him fighting for race wins and even championships in NASCAR as he continues to build his legacy in yet another motorsport series. Shane Van Gisbergen's shocking decision to step into NASCAR may have seemed improbable at first, but his success in just a few short years proves that he's not only capable of making history in one series, he's ready to make waves in another. And with his unique combination of skill, adaptability, and ambition, SVG is poised to become a permanent fixture in the NASCAR Cup Series, continuing to challenge the norms and defy expectations.
Incredible day, incredible scenes. And the 33-year-old from Elk Grove, California, Kyle Larson, comes to the line and is a two-time champion.
Kyle Larson just turned Denny Hamlin's perfect day into another heartbreak. For 319 laps, Hamlin controlled the race, leading 208 of them and sitting just 40 seconds from his first Cup title. Then, a late caution flipped everything. Larson took a risk, Hamlin played it safe, and history repeated itself in the most brutal way. Let's rewind. The 2025 Championship 4 showdown at Phoenix was set to be one for the ages. Hamlin, Larson, Byron, and Briscoe all came in with everything to gain. But for Hamlin, the stakes were different. At 44, he wasn't just racing for a trophy. He was racing to rewrite history, to shed the label of greatest driver to never win a title. And through 300 laps, he was doing just that. Hamlin was dominant from the drop, starting from the pole and running like a man possessed. His Toyota was untouchable in clean air, building a nearly 3-second lead with just a few laps to go. Victory and redemption were seconds away. But racing, like life, doesn't care about your plans.
Okay.
Oh boy, William Byron. William Byron has a tyre issue and the caution is out. He was the only one of the championship four who didn't have a tyre issue, Kim, and now it's struck.
That's when William Byron's tire exploded, sending him into the wall and bringing out a late caution that sent the championship finale into overtime. In a split-second decision, teams headed down pit road for the final call of the season. Hamlin's team chose 4 tires. Larson's team? Just 2. That single call would change everything. On the restart, Larson had track position. Hamlin had grip, but not the time. In a 2-lap shootout, Larson powered through to 3rd, highest among the championship 4. Hamlin only made it back to 6th. Ryan Blaney won the race, but Larson walked away with the title. It was cruel. It was dramatic. It was NASCAR.
Denny Hamlin on the right was so close.
Post-race, Hamlin sat motionless in his car, a towel draped over his head, daughters crying nearby. He had led 2/3 of the race. He had done everything right. And yet, the championship slipped through his hands again. "We were 40 seconds away from a championship," he said, stunned. "Just praying for no caution." And we had one there. This isn't new for Hamlin. It's the 6th time he's lost a title shot in devastating fashion. 2010, 2014, 2019, 2020, 2021, and now 2025. This one, though, cut deeper. It was his first real shot in years. He was loose all weekend. He'd rented houses for friends and family. He was ready. What made it even more painful was the caliber of Hamlin's performance. He wasn't just keeping pace, he was dictating it. Every restart, every pit cycle, he was in control. The number. 11 car was fast on both short and long runs, showing speed in every lane. Analysts were already talking about how this would be the most dominant championship performance since Jimmy Johnson's peak. And then, one tire changed everything. Kyle Larson, meanwhile, was deep in a 24-race slump, winless since May, coming off a disappointing attempt at the Indy 500 and Coke 600 double. Nobody pegged him as a favorite, but when the moment came, he pounced. "We didn't lead a lap and won the championship," Larson said in disbelief. "We had an average car at best. It's just unbelievable. What a year by this motorsports team." And it really was. Larson hadn't dominated, he hadn't dazzled, but he was there when it counted and made the aggressive call that won him the war. That's racing. Byron, who triggered the caution, was devastated. "I hate that," Byron said. "I obviously didn't want to cause a caution. If I'd known the tire was going down, I would have done something different." Hamlin's teammate Chase Briscoe finished 18th. Byron, Larson's teammate, limped home in 33rd. The only one from Hendrick who cashed in was Larson, and it was all thanks to a strategy call that left Hamlin's title hopes in the dust. What many fans might overlook is the mental strength it takes to make a call like the one Larson's crew made. Taking 2 tires is a high-risk, high-reward decision. If the car loses grip, it's game over. But crew chief Cliff Daniels believed in the moment, and it paid off. It's another reminder that championships are won not just with horsepower, but with nerve. The finish reignited debate around NASCAR's playoff format. How can a guy lead 208 laps and lose to someone who didn't lead a single one? Fans were divided. Was it fair, or was Hamlin robbed? Even Ryan Blaney, who won the race but wasn't in title contention, admitted, "You do have to feel for that group, and Denny, they had the fastest race car here. Just one of those things where it doesn't work out." Larson's victory wasn't dirty, but it was ruthless. He played the format perfectly. 2 tires got him track position, clean air helped him survive, and with that, he became a 2-time champ. Meanwhile, Joe Gibbs Racing was in shambles. Crew members were seen crying. Some slumped on the pavement. Gibbs himself stood in silence, hand on hip, not saying a word. It was another devastating chapter in a story they've lived too many times. Hamlin held it together, barely. He hugged his crew. He faced the cameras, but his words carried the weight of every close call he's ever suffered. "I'll try," he said. "But man, if you can't win that one, I don't know which one you can win."
I'll try. I got a couple more shots at it, but, man, if you can't win that one, I don't know which one you can win.
And that's what makes this finale so brutal. There was no crash, no dirty block, no blatant sabotage, just a split-second decision and a system that rewards guts over dominance. Larson wasn't the best that day, but he was the smartest when it mattered. If you're Denny Hamlin, what more can you do? You dominate, you lead, you prepare, and still, it's not enough. It wasn't bad driving, it wasn't poor strategy. It was just timing. Terrible, heartbreaking timing. To make matters worse, this race exposed a recurring flaw in the championship format. NASCAR's playoff system, introduced to heighten drama, does just that, but often at the cost of fairness. Fans have long debated whether a one-race finale truly determines the best driver of the season. In Hamlin's case, the system felt more like a trap than a test. On social media, reactions poured in. Supporters were devastated, labeling the finale a robbery. Even some Larson fans admitted it felt wrong, despite acknowledging his brilliance in seizing the moment. "This isn't how a championship should end," one tweet read, summing up the mood. "This wasn't just a race, it was a case study in heartbreak, in the razor-thin margins that define greatness and grief in motorsports. This race will go down in history, not just for the chaos, but for what it says about the sport. NASCAR loves drama. It thrives on unpredictability. But when that unpredictability crushes a career-defining moment for a veteran like Hamlin, it leaves a scar." Fans were split. Some celebrated Larson's nerve, others mourned for Hamlin, but everyone agreed this was one of the most gut-wrenching finales in years. So what happens now? For Larson, it's vindication. After months of struggle, he's a two-time champion. His legacy is growing, his team delivered under pressure, and in the biggest moment, he didn't blink. For Hamlin, it's another long offseason filled with questions. Can he come back again? Does he have another run in him? Or was this his last best shot? Phoenix gave us answers, and even more questions. But one thing's certain, Denny Hamlin's championship curse is very real. And Kyle Larson, he just added another page to Hamlin's heartbreak story, whether he meant to or not. NASCAR can be brutal. On Sunday night, it was heartless. The NASCAR world didn't see this one coming. Richard Childress Racing just made a bold move involving Kyle Busch, one that's turned heads across the garage and sparked fresh debate about what's next for both the driver and the team. In a move that sent waves through the sport, Richard Childress Racing, RCR, has confirmed it will continue its partnership with two-time Cup Series champion Kyle Busch through the 2026 season. After months of speculation about Busch's next step, this extension signals more than just loyalty. It's a statement about RCR's direction and Busch's determination to stay in the fight for another title. Richard Childress himself, a figure synonymous with NASCAR excellence, stood proudly beside Busch during the announcement, exuding confidence in what the future holds. "We're proud to continue our relationship with Kyle Busch and remain focused on our shared goals of winning races and championships together," Childress said. "Kyle is a tremendous racer and ambassador of the sport for our fans and partners." This partnership began in 2023 when Busch, after a 15-year run with Joe Gibbs Racing, made the bold decision to join RCR, the reunion with Chevrolet, and the new challenge of driving the number. 8-car marked a significant shift in his career trajectory. And while his initial campaign with RCR brought 3 Cup Series wins and numerous top 5 and top 10 finishes, a championship remained elusive until now. For Busch, the extension is about more than just job security. It's a testament to the mutual trust that's developed between him and Childress. It's an honor to race for Richard Childress, our partners, and Team Chevy fans. Busch said, "I feel like my family and I have found a home at RCR. My chapter here is not yet complete." RCR has long been a force in NASCAR. From its humble beginnings in 1969 to becoming the first team to win championships in the Cup, Xfinity, and Truck Series, the organization's legacy is interwoven with the history of the sport itself. And now, with Childress continuing to invest in cutting-edge engineering, high-caliber personnel, and elite drivers, the team is retooling for another run at dominance. Busch's time at RCR has not been without its challenges.